We're live, closing out another incredible year of learning, building, and rethinking what product management can be. I'm Jeremy Horn, also known as the Product Guy, and this is TPG Live, where product thinkers at every level come together. Whether you're leading a global team or starting your first product role, this community is yours. This isn't just a live stream. It's a real-time conversation where you too are part of the roundtable. Jump in with your comments in the chat, your thoughts, your perspective, your questions. They are as critical to this conversation as the on-camera portion of our roundtable. If someone on your team should be here, send them the link right now. There's still time to join. And stay with us until the end. We'll wrap with practical, powerful advice from our roundtable that you can take into the new year. Now, let's meet our roundtable. First up is Ite Sphiri. Ite is a product manager leading digital sales at a global airline with prior experience in retail e-commerce. He specializes in translating legacy business needs into intuitive digital flows with a strong focus on user research and UX. We're also joined by Dilshad Sheikh. Dilshad is a senior PM at Elsevier, leading recommender systems and Gen AI personalization and research workflows. She's an advocate for responsible AI with deep expertise in fairness, bias mitigation, and explainability. She's also a published researcher, speaker at major AI events, and an active mentor with Women in Product UK. There's also Shaheen Murray. Shaheen is a discovery-first product manager and agile coach known for his work launching global products at Dell. He blends user research, design thinking, and product strategy to create standout customer experiences. And Varun Kalyan. Varun is a senior product leader at a top Fortune 500 travel brand with 13 plus years of experience in product and analytics. He's led agile teams across companies like Mapbox, T-Mobile, and Total Wine, and holds certifications in AI, analytics, and multiple agile frameworks. And finally, we have Greg Spector. Greg is a product operations and delivery expert, helping companies scale through process, structure, and clarity. Founder of Extraterrestrial Corp, he advises startups and enterprise teams on PMOs, AI adoption, and operational excellence. Greg is a Six Sigma Green Belt frequent speaker and publishes insights on delivery and AI through his Substack and YouTube. Today on TPG Live, what should your team explore doing differently in 2026? And what would it look like to lead with fewer rituals and more results? Join us in the chat room and at the roundtable as we discuss all this and much more coming up next on TPG Live. Before we get started, a quick reminder. What you see here on YouTube is only part of the product way. Our Patreon is where serious product professionals go to make better decisions, grow faster, and open new career opportunities. Members get the full experience, proven frameworks and tools you can use right away, expanded TPG Live recaps with actionable strategies that go beyond the roundtable, curated introductions to trusted hiring managers through PM Select, and our exclusive Roadmap to Mastery series, including How to Lead at the Intersection of Product and AI. Members are already landing new roles and solving tough product challenges more effectively. Join them today at patreon.com/theproductway or use the QR code on your screen to become a member right now. Your go-to platform for all things product management, connecting you with industry leaders, trendsetters, and a global community of insights and unique perspectives. This is the Product Way. Welcome to TPG Live. We've got an extra special event, end-of-year event going on today. Extra large roundtable and lots of other kinds of extra going on. Greg, Ite, Dilshad, Varun, Shaheen, anything that I left out, got wrong, or you want to add about your bio? No?
I'll jump in. There's one more thing that I'm involved in. It's called Kwai.ai. We are an ethical open source AI project. We're trying to build an ethical AI assistant that doesn't steal your data.
Awesome. Wow. Ethical and AI. And we've got AI in the first 5 minutes of the show. Awesome.
Wasn't that the job?
I know, right? So that brings us. So this. Let's get into the question of the show today. And today's question of the show is: what's a product you love but would be embarrassed to admit? So if you're embarrassed about a product that you love, hey, now tell everyone right now. So let me go just in the order that folks happen to be on the screen right now. Oh, and the order just changed. And so I'll start with you, Dilshad.
Okay, the product that I love, but I'm slightly embarrassed to admit, is actually food weighing scale. Well, actually, two of them. One is the food weighing scale, and the other one is the body weight scale. My son is the one who introduced this food scale at home. And when he bought it, I lectured him saying, "You don't need to be so precise, enjoy everything in moderation, typical mommy stuff." Now he barely uses it. And while I turned it into a full ritual, so, yes, I became exactly the person I once told him not to become. And that's why I guess I'm slightly embarrassed. But I love seeing the changes. It's almost like I'm running an A B test on myself for watching my input macros and how it's influencing the body composition. Currently, I'm loving it. My family is divided on this. Half of my family thinks it's absolutely crazy. But hey, it's giving
It
me some good entertainment.
is it one of those scales that like syncs up with an app and everything?
Well, I didn't get, or my son did not get that sophisticated one. It's just the normal one where you kind of measure your protein. I use Chat GPT as well to say, oh, this is 60 grams of protein. What's the, what's the calories like?
Oh,
And
weight scale for food.
yeah, weighing scale for food. It's two, like the food
Oh,
weighing
I'm
scale
thinking
and
for
the
people.
actual weighing scale. No,
No, I
it's
was
both.
thinking people.
No, it's both. I use both. That's why, like I said, it's more like an A/B test. I see what I am feeding myself and how it's showing on the body composition scale. So yeah, it's a bit embarrassing, but yeah,
Got
I'm struggling with the
uh,
entire world.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I have a weight scale, the kind for people. And I'd
Oh,
say
okay.
I have an embarrassing activity. What I do is I get on it, but if it looks like the weight's not going to be in the range that I want, I quickly get off before it identifies which person I am because I don't want it to sync with my thing unless it's a good answer.
Yeah.
All right, let me go to you, Greg.
So my guilty pleasure is actually Facebook ads. It's embarrassing because I work in tech and should know better, but their predictive modeling is just undeniable. Normally, I have total banner blindness everywhere, really, even in real life, except but Facebook. For some reason, they managed to show me exactly what I want before I even know that it exists. So it takes a lot of serious willpower for me not to click on those ads, which is really a testament to how good their data on me is, and it's a
I-
little scary as well.
Is this on Facebook?
Yeah, I've recently, well, a few years ago, deleted the app from my phone, but every once in a while, somebody will send me something, and then I get sucked down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, for me, it's the Instagram stuff. It's those Instagram ads,
Yeah,
and they really like. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. Yeah, tell me more. Um,
exactly.
I know, I know. It's
It's the
upsetting.
same
Upsets me
ecosystem.
too. I had the same conflicted feelings there too. But the Facebook app, that is definitely that was gone. That's been gone for a while.
Yeah,
Um, I just like to pretend Instagram is an independent company, not owned by anyone else. Um,
what they know about us is
I
truly
know.
scary,
Yes, it
and
is.
they're really good because most other ads are just showing me stuff that I've already bought
Yep.
and that I'm never going to have to buy again in the next 10 years. Not Facebook and Instagram.
Oh yeah, no, those things have to convert really well.
Yeah.
Um, sponsor me, Varun. Up to you.
Hey, thank you. I have one that's a physical tool that I have. It's kind of like a desk vacuum cleaner. It's a little keyboard and like it kind of cleans up your desk. I eat a lot at my desk just due to like this whole new way of working since the pandemic. But I do create a mess on my table, so I have this little portable vacuum cleaner that cleans up the keyboard and like all the other stuff around the table. And then the second one was very similar. It's something that I've initially I didn't like as much. Facebook Marketplace. You will find anything and everything there. So it's pretty, as you guys just mentioned, like just the ads, it does suck you in. But I've gotten good at selling things there. So it is kind of like, it keeps me on Facebook just for that reason, even though I'm not a big fan of the whole Facebook ecosystem. So just wanted to share that.
Awesome. Ite.
My favorite product is actually Duolingo. As much as I hate to admit, I actually paid for it, which makes me
A lot of controversy over there recently.
Of course, which is exactly what makes me get into the application every day and keep my strike for almost 500 days straight. And I promise next year I will not pay for it again.
What's the language that you're doing?
Dutch.
Okay.
We recently relocated to the Netherlands, so I decided I would like to blend in as needed, and part of it is learning the language.
Nice. Shaheen.
Hey, any gamers out there? My guilty product pleasure is called Arc Raiders. So this is a new game that's come out recently, and bear with me, it's a loot extraction game. So that means you're going into an environment to gather things and bring them home. And in this environment, there are other players and there are like computer enemies as well. Now, it's not the first of this type, but what they've done well is they've balanced it out so that the like computer enemy is like a little bit oppressive. And now you're in an environment where it doesn't make sense to necessarily kill every person that you see, but sometimes you may want to collaborate and like say, hey, are you cool? Should we team up? So it's creating this like nice foundation for these like social interactions and improv and role play. So that's like kind of I don't know. It's a brilliant kind of like what has emerged out of this space that I'm not sure they were anticipating. And then one step further is like from my pure product hat is at the end of a round, they'll ask you, they just have a survey. It's just 5 smiley faces, frowny to smiley, saying, hey, how did you enjoy your player versus player encounters? That's it. And just one click. Or how did you enjoy your player versus environment encounters? And it's not after every game, but just every once in a while they'll throw that up and it's like a one click and you move on. So I love that they're getting that real-time feedback. And presumably if you're putting a big frowny face on it, then, you know, I'd assume that they have those games recorded and they're kind of like doing some observational research on top of it. So I really like the system that they've created.
Awesome. I was going to ask, where is it? Is it a PC game or is it?
Yeah, I think it's cross-platform. Yeah, I play on PC, but I think that it's
Arc
around.
Raiders. I'll take a look. I don't know when I'll play it, but I'll take a look at that. So for myself, my embarrassing product, I'd say they're perfectly fitted, amazingly comfortable. They give me the power of super stealth. They work in both the hot and cold. They're great when lounging around the house. They also work great in hotel rooms. They go perfectly flat, so handy for travel. I'm also told they are not the most attractive. I've been told that on many, many occasions, but I just don't care. So my embarrassing product is a pair of very thin, way too expensive to say how much they cost. Leather slippers that I own. I wear them around the house, and yes, they even require. You can't just slide your foot into them. You have to use 2 hands to get your foot into these slippers that you only wear inside, and so they are very difficult to get on. But once they're on, so good. So yeah, that is my embarrassing product.
But do they come with an app?
Do they come with what?
An app.
They do not. They are not Bluetooth enabled, but they come with a beautiful leather bag, like a pouch, and like the whole thing. You can squish it flat, and so it works awesome. Like if you're in a hotel, you don't want to. Maybe you want to wear slippers, or you want to wear flip flops or something. I wear these. These are nice. This is nice, and they just like mold right to your foot perfectly.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's great. If anyone's curious, after the show, I'll tell you. I will not say it on air. So anyway, so our first topic is unthinkable product strategies. Those strategies that no one would dare say, breaking rules that no longer work. In 2025 forced every PM to rethink something. What we used to treat as fixed rituals, metrics, roles, everything's really feels like it's suddenly up for debate. So to kick off the conversation today, I want to hear from you, the roundtable that we've got here, from the folks in the audience, in the chat room, about what you've outgrown, what you've changed, what you're looking to leave behind as we step into 2026. So for the audience, I'd say the first question I'd pose to the audience, and then I'll transition over to the roundtable is, some habits are so ingrained we stop noticing them. What's one product, ritual, or framework you've seen teams follow just because it's what PMs do? And so for that one, if you have an answer, please drop it in the chat, make a comment, or ask other questions as we go through everything here on the show today. And so this is our final TPG Live Roundtable of the year, so it's going to be big. So instead of just trading tips, we're going to challenge norms. And so what do you really want to carry into 2026? What's overdue for reinvention? What's the most impactful leaders in product aren't just improving a process, they're rewriting the defaults. And so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to explore and see what we could do about identifying those stale or antiquated ideas, or things that identifying those things that just no longer serve us well. And so for the first question, I kind of want to get into, let's start with what we're leaving behind. So I'm going to start with Ite. What's one rule or assumption or best practice in product that you think needs to be broken in 2026?
I might say something controversial, but I think daily stand-ups should be extincted.
Elaborate, please.
I believe daily stand-ups are the most time-consuming agile ceremony that we can, with love, let them go, keep them somewhere in even 2020. It takes too much time of the product management role, while you can use this time to research, to optimize your own data, to optimize your own features. And instead of just being the school manager that supervises every role in the squad, we can do much better things with our time. So yeah, I'd certainly leave those behind.
Excellent. Who wants to jump on that?
I think one of the items I was about to say was exactly the same. I would just slightly differently either reduce the stand-up strictly to the 3 questions rather than like a protracted discussion that happens. Be succinct, and then we can schedule ad hoc meetings as needed.
Yeah, Jordan made a great comment. In 2026, Jordan Bertram is going to be using less AI in their product. So that's great. LinkedIn user, it's not telling me who the LinkedIn users' names are, but someone's commenting, I'd be fine without a daily stand-up, not product specific though. And then I got, yes, perfect timing. So I'm not sure which, but whoever was just speaking, perfect timing. Let's go to you, Dilshad.
Well, mine is slightly different. One rule or an assumption or a best practice that I would think should be broken is the idea of validate before you build no longer works when it comes to AI capabilities, right? Because we normally have this approach towards building capabilities is you define the problem, you validate, and then you kind of build, where you kind of know everything, you kind of solutionize, and you know what goes in and what goes out. But with the advent of all the AI models and organization building the AI capabilities, we do know that these models are probabilistic in nature, so you really cannot pre-built properly, kind of you would test. I'm not saying you wouldn't test, but you cannot be really deterministic or 100% sure that this is gonna go the way that you're imagining. So the best way go forward is just experiment and put in front of the users. You will still do the kind of testing, human evaluation, all of it, but in new way it's more about learning comes first, and you have to really be agile in adapting to the needs that are coming in and try to fix those. So the traditional way of software building approaches might not work in the new world is what my um, yeah, my one rule or an assumption that should be broken in 2026. And there's also on that I would like to add on and say we usually have these user journeys as very static. When we are doing the user research, we know that, oh, this person is searching, and then they'll get the results. They kind of export it or filter it. These steps are very linear, which is not true anymore with the way that the users are interacting with our AI technologies or AI capabilities that we're offering. It's very non-linear. Things change, their intent change. We need to be able to adapt to that kind of a speed. So the way of treating user research more linear wouldn't work in the with the AI space, at least.
So I was
That's
a little worried that my idea was going to be too much of a hot take, but I thank you for burning down the stand-up. So my opinion is that we need to stop building for humans and start building for agents. I know it's the most unthinkable strategy right now is to intentionally deprioritize our human user interface, but I really think this is the right thing. I know for the last 15 years, the golden rule of product has been pixel perfect UX, building perfect dashboards, sticky interfaces for humans to click on, all of that stuff. But I'm afraid we're going to need to break that rule because the definition of the user is fundamentally changing. And I think in 2026, the most valuable users won't be humans logging into your apps. They'll be AI agents acting on behalf of those humans. So if I tell my personal AI, say, book me a flight or optimize my supply chain, that agent isn't going to look at the pretty dashboards or the great UI. It's going to look for a clear and clean API and a semantic layer it can execute on. This unthinkable strategy is to look at the roadmap and say, we aren't building this for a human or a person to click. We're building this for a machine to call. So if your product is trapped inside your GUI, you're going to be invisible to the next generation of AI users.
I couldn't smile. How did the comments not blow up right now? Stop designing for humans. Humans are yesterday.
That's right.
We don't need to design for people anymore. Gee. And apparently everyone supports that. That's great. That's great. As you gave your answer, what you saw was me like crouching down as though I was physically trying to dodge any comments that were about people going crazy about whatever coming in. That is a bold statement, sir. That is a bold. I don't know what to do with that one. That's it. I don't know if I'm all the way where you are, but
fair.
I think one of the people that you do have to start, that people you have to be designing for is the AI agent itself using your product and all. So I don't disagree with, I think, a lot of the core. I don't know if that's my number one that I'm designing for. I don't know. I don't know if I'm there yet, but who wants to take the other side there? Who was just talking?
I can give an alternate perspective or a semi-alternate perspective because
I love debates, by the way. So I'm just trying to.
Yeah, the kind of industry, at least we serve, is the last interaction is a human touch, right? You're gonna fly the airline, you're gonna stay at the hotel. You can't really replace even you cannot replace those experiences. So in the end, you need to validate what the agent does. You need to revalidate So if you just tell an agent book a flight, you don't know what it's going to book, right? So there needs to be validation, revalidation, and then the end touch point is going to be that human interaction. So from the industry,
But isn't that the best way to fly? Just say book a flight and you just see where it takes you.
Yeah, it could be a $10,000 flight that you didn't want to book. So or it could
Exciting.
be a Spirit flight, or like a flight that you don't want to fly in, right? So
All right, now you brought me back to the ground.
I don't think
Okay.
you'll be happy with a 1 o'clock in the night flight to anywhere. So
Yeah. So there's an element.
I've got
of
one of those
human
coming up.
factor. Yeah. So that's my
Go
take.
ahead.
It's, I think, just as Jason Huang mentioned, human plus AI is the more middle ground versus either end of the spectrum. That's my take on that.
Yeah, but Varun, wouldn't you think that if the agent is booking you the wrong flight or the wrong kind of flight, or something along the lines
Or
of
Spirit Airlines, even worse.
or Spirit Airlines, wouldn't that kind of be a bad agent and not the airline booking site or app experience?
Yeah, I think the fine tuning is where I'm saying you need constant interaction until that perfection is hit, right? And that's not going to be, it's not there yet in certain industries, I can say. Maybe certain areas, yes, certain areas, no. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that our products, digital products, I agree with your take on the human touch. You don't want to get into that seat, and that seat is built for an AI agent and not for a human body to sit in. But the digital products, I think, and I stand by that. I know it's a hot take, and I wanted to kind of blow it up at the beginning, but I think I stand by what I said. I think that digital products really do need to be agent ready.
Yep. I do have a comment on that. When Greg made that point, I'm like, wow, that's quite a statement. But listening to all the comments, I perceive this is you're still building for people. Though you're saying a statement like that, it's still people in the mind making their life easier or giving the best user experience, right? So we cannot really take people out. Eventually, we are building these systems to make everyone's life easier.
Right. But now there's an agentic layer that didn't used to exist. That if we're not building for that, and I know the way I phrased it was incendiary. By
perfect.
design.
It was perfect.
Oh, that's good. You got the good attention from everyone. Like woke up and we were able to like, what is this?
Yeah, I'm happy that it came out that way. But ultimately, what I'm saying is that if we don't build for those users, for the agentic users, then we are going to be missing out, and I don't think anybody wants that.
That's great. Let's see. The Jordan made a comment about the pressure that a lot of the PMs are under with respect to AI, and he's just emphasizing that more attention needs to be taken into making sure AI is solving real problems, and not just real problems worth solving. More importantly, and then I've got David Thrower. It's easier for users to articulate the solution they want when at least a most basic solution is in front of them to give feedback on. You can't expect lay users to define a UI de novo. You can't expect. I said that right. Let's see. Sometimes they can. All right. So just commenting on the AI. Let's see if, and then Rich is pointing out that my agent is going to tell your agent that my agent is going to tell your agent your UI sucks. Cool. All right. Awesome. So which commonly, I guess, so some frameworks are going to stay popular long after they've stopped being useful. I guess back to the roundtable and on camera and off camera roundtable, the chat room. which commonly used tools or rituals do you think are causing more harm than good?
I'll fill this one. And let me piggyback on the other one. I think, adding agents as a persona, I love that as a concept, as like always having, you've got your main stakeholder personas and then throw in the agent. I think that's so cool. Yes, on rituals, since I was going to discuss this, first I would defend the stand-up. I would defend the stand-up for sure. When done right, 5 minutes. Okay, but anyways, the one-on-one, the manager one-on-one, that's what I'm going to bash. Okay. The weekly one-on-one, I hate those. And I hate those because you're not building the team. You're not necessarily building the team dynamic. And I'm not against you connecting with your manager to like have a therapy or like deep dive or whatever and get oriented. I think that's cool. But I don't think that should be like the primary mechanism for like providing feedback to the team or like coordination or strategy per se, right? I've been in environments where of both types, and if the whole team is together having that conversation together, then a lot more happens, a lot more growth happens, and there's a lot more impact to the business. Because you think about the connections of communication, and if it's like 10 people in a team having a conversation for 1 hour, and I would propose this would be like a retrospective or something, right? Where you're trying to like improve the team dynamics. So that's 10 people for 1 hour, you're having that conversation. To have that same kind of like level, to have that same information cross the paths of all 10 people through one-on-ones is insane, right? Like how many different like one-on-one conversations do you have to have just to have like all that information flow? So I think it's a real narrow kind of format that a lot of companies are holding on to that's not necessarily serving the team as a whole. But you should be able to have it ad hoc. You have your like you have your stand up, and in the stand up you say, hey, by the way, I want to have a one-on-one this week, and then you're like, okay, let's do it. So like I think there's a format and a way to like introduce that gracefully and not have that be kind of the standard. I'm leaving it behind.
No one's jumping on that one.
I'm with you defending the stand-up. I wanted to say I hate to be disagreeable, but I actually love being disagreeable. And I'm with you on the stand-up, but all the other stuff, it'd be great to get rid of it if you can. I'm not saying you can never meet with your manager because there's an issue or escalation or something like that, or to meet with somebody else, but status updates, all of that stuff can be done in other ceremonies.
Yeah.
I've heard of organizations that essentially ban any other team meeting except all the Agile ceremonies. If a stakeholder wants to know how their project is going, well, 15 minutes a day is not a big investment. Just pop in. You don't even have to stay for the whole thing. You're probably going to be done in and out when you hear about your project in less than 3-4 minutes. So feel free to just pop in rather than drag a product owner, product manager, or even worse, a couple of people off the team for what could be a 2-minute meeting, but turns into a minimum of a 30-minute meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ite, I saw you nod in your head. Let me go to you, and then I have thoughts.
Yeah, I must say I do agree regarding. I'm still on my side regarding the daily stand-ups. I'm still behind this decision, but I do agree that that these weekly statuses and these bi-weekly meeting with the manager to provide status, to provide any thoughts regarding any process. These are some things that need to be left way behind. I believe once you have a good manager, once you have a good communication with the manager or with the team, it's something that happens on a daily basis. You talk with the manager. It's part of your communication. I consult with him. I talk with him, and sharing my thoughts with him, and get a decision on the product together. So yeah, I completely agree on this side.
Interesting. So my 2 cents. As a manager, one-on-ones, like the way I think if you're doing status updates, something's already broken. Like you shouldn't be using your manager one-on-ones for status updates. I've always seen the one-on-ones, and I find them valuable not in that I'm not doing a one-on-one because I want a status update. I got them through with all the other channels. I got status updates. The one-on-one is I'm trying to figure out what I can be doing as your manager, what I can be doing best to help develop your career and your skill set, and where I can be providing more support for you. And so that's what I'm doing from a one-on-one perspective. Is I'm looking at it from a career development, and what kind of support I can be providing. If I'm not working on your career and helping you develop your career and progress your career forward, I'm not doing I'm not doing my job as a manager. Status update, yeah, I can attend another meeting, like if I so choose. I'm not doing that, or I get an email. The status update's a waste of time. Like this is time to how do we help you work on your weak points or your weak areas, and what can we do to really kind of bulk that up and develop that. Hey, Jordan agrees with me. Awesome. Yeah, Jordan says I'm right, so done. No. So that's how I see. I see one-on-ones, I guess, maybe a little bit differently. As I spend a lot of time doing one-on-ones with my direct reports and skip levels and all that. But I look at it, what can I be doing to help and mentor and coach and guide? I don't want a status update. If there's a problem you want to come to me with, sure, fine. But status updates that's not what the point is. That's not a valuable use of everyone's time there. Anyone else wanted to hit that one? Are there other rituals or frameworks that we think are doing more harm than good?
I think I have one which could be controversial now, but slightly different to what you guys are discussing. One tool which we kind of take that as like written on stone, which is roadmaps. Again, I'm not saying roadmaps are useless. We still need roadmaps for planning, alignment, but you can't really have your roadmaps rigid anymore. You can't really plan for the next 12 months. This is how it needs to be. You can't simply catch up with the speed that the AI ecosystem has, because every week there is a new model coming in. Let's say you launch something with an X model, and then 2 weeks later, or let's say 1 month later, you're having another model which kind of gives you more relevancy or saves a lot of money. Then you can't sit there and thinking we will adapt to this new model when we have some bandwidth in the next Q3 or Q4. That would bite us very badly. Therefore, I would say roadmaps are still essential, but it should not be very rigid. You need to have a mindset for adapting to the needs as they evolve. And another thing is, when you're launching these AI capabilities, you're, like I said earlier, it's not very definitive. It's more very probabilistic. So anything can happen. You should launch, and there's a lot that you keep learning, and your roadmap should be able to accommodate these learnings back, right? So that's something that we need to be aware of. That's why I'm saying we still plan, we will still have a roadmap, but we need to leave space to adapt as the landscape moves. So that's a tool I would want to slightly change to adapt to the changing needs.
I'm smart. Go ahead.
I would agree. I think that a lot, since the industry moved away from traditional old school waterfall with the Gantt charts and all that stuff, it's almost like we've gotten allergic to having a rough idea of what we're trying to deliver when. And I found that even Gantt charts, if you approach them not from the task level, but from the value delivery level, they can be very useful, but they have to be delivered to leadership and management and presented in a way like we just heard, there has to be some flexibility. This isn't written in stone. This is something that we are aiming to deliver this value in this time window. But there is going to be some room for flexibility, and there's going to be some shifting and moving around, because I find that we present this stuff to C-level leadership in technology as if they've never worked in technology, as if they've never seen releases pushed back or things rolled out and then pulled back again. This is a normal part of our business, but we subscribe, it's almost like, to this mythology that no, these estimates are actually commitments and we are locked into them. And this is exactly how it's going to go, because nothing ever happens that is unpredictable in our world. And that's false. That's blatantly false. And we don't need to protect leadership from this reality, but we should just put all our cards on the table. We just need to be more honest about it. This is the roadmap. It's going to shift. It's going to change around. There is the cone of uncertainty. We've all heard that term. So let's operate as best as we can within that cone of uncertainty. And if we are going to be off by a few days 6 months from now, that's not even a conversation. But if we're going to be off by a few days 2 weeks from now, then we should really make adjustments and make plans to absorb that change in schedule.
I would like to add on that, on the emotional part of, think about of an employee that got committed to provide a certain product or a certain feature up to a specific time frame or up to a specific day of the year, and all of a sudden they suddenly have another developments or another features they would like to upload, and as the employee, as the simple product manager, I feel bad that I couldn't deliver what I promised at the beginning of the year because of all the other things that stalled me back. But looking at the wider angle, it's not that I didn't do anything or that I got stalled because, I don't know, I went to Miami Beach or something. It happened because I worked on other major, really important stuff. So roadmaps can actually, it can be the beacon for the year, but it doesn't have to be your Bible, or it's not holy as it's presented, at least in the past 3 to 5, maybe even more years than that.
I've just been smiling profusely. Is that the right way to say it? I don't know. I have a whole article series I published, I think earlier this year, late last year, or I think it was earlier this year, about with the theme of it, kill roadmaps, and how the roadmap is killing your product. So I definitely enjoyed that and got some interesting reactions, I think, on LinkedIn when I was publishing it up. So I definitely am enjoying this. So I want to continue with, so when many teams sense when a process is stale but don't act. So how do you help teams recognize when it is time to break with that tradition? Shaheen?
All right. For me, in terms of process improvement, all roads lead back to the retrospective and a well-run retro, and yeah, that's the time when. And I have a nice template. If anybody wants, shoot me a message. I'll send it to you. That kind of guides you through in a safe way how to get all of the BS out. And so, and one of those columns is like hindrances. So, you would expect that something comes up in hindrances, or another column I have is less than successful. So you would expect that things kind of bubble up there. And when they do, and oftentimes when, what I found in retrospectives is that as people share and it gets out there, it often requires like no follow-up. it's just like by the act of us sharing this all together in the safe space, then we're all on the same page. And next week we know there doesn't even have to be a conversation. We have the conversation. We already know that this thing's not working for us. So when that bubbles up and comes time, whatever it is, we know that there should be some action taken there. So that's my take.
I agree. I so agree. I think the retrospective is such an underappreciated ceremony in
Yeah.
our industry.
And underutilized, right?
Underutilized. Even I would say a third of the of the companies that do this ceremony, even just do that, they're just going through the motions. They're not following up on any of the action items. They're just kind of like going through the motions. And that is so, I feel, destructive to the reason that we're having this. I think that what we're trying to do, or should be trying to do, in my opinion, is creating a culture of experimentation. Everything we're doing is an experiment. You know, we all talk about how we want to be innovative, we want to try new things, we want to kind of have a startup culture. But then when we try an initiative and it doesn't work, suddenly we're walking on eggshells around that thing, and we're doing that thing for years sometimes, even though it doesn't work. We're just pretending it works and wasting so many hours doing these things. Whereas what should have happened is we should have said, this experiment didn't work, and let's learn from it and move on. That was, I'm an old man, so I remember this was part of the original internet culture. This was the first tech culture. That's how people were conditioned to behave. You can do anything, and if your premise proves to be false, or hypothesis proves to be false, and turns out that this experiment didn't work, that's fine. Write it up and share the learnings and move on to the next experiment. I believe Google functioned like this, and a couple of the places that I've worked at that were startups also functioned like this. And it's a very strong culture and conducive to trying new things, being psychologically safe, like what Shaheen just said, and moving on to something that will work.
Less so nowadays, but it was.
Yeah.
It was. Jacqueline kind of posed an interesting question. I want to do this, and then I'll go over to Becky's question. Jacqueline was asking, and this was going to be my follow-up question regarding the retros as well. Jacqueline's asking, where can we see this great retro worksheet? And I think put a different way is, what advice do all of you have for running an effective retrospective? I think a lot of the time, time it can be tricky for a lot of places to have a retro be effective. Sometimes I think emotion can get too much in the way. So what advice do all of you have?
Right. I think the thing general advice that I'll start with, and this comes from an experiment in grad school where we were trying to generate the most ideas that we possibly could. And we did this in two ways. We did a group brainstorm together where we just generated ideas together. And then the second method, we did an individual brainstorm. So writing down our own ideas. And then we did a share. And as we were sharing, we generated more ideas. And we found just from a count of number of ideas that if you start by yourself writing your own thing and then come together as a group and a share, you will create more ideas, more things. So for a retrospective, start individually, take 10 or 15 minutes, allow some space for everyone to write and get things out of their mind, and then do a group share. So I think that that's a very effective practice.
Great. That's exactly what I thought for myself. I would say come prepared to this meeting, because this ceremony, this is one ceremony that as you said, Greg, it's truly underrated, and it's truly helping the squad to see they're going or aiming at least to the right direction. And so exactly like you said, Shane, I would say come prepared. Think about it 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting. Have yourself notes regarding what you want to say, who you want to share your knowledge with. Exactly like you said.
I would add one thing for all the Scrum Masters or people who are playing that role. If you're coming to the retro and you don't have a team that's fully engaged, do what we just heard. Come prepared yourself. Have a handful of things that you think went well during that sprint and what could have gone better, and start seeding that conversation. And I guess one of the dirty tricks that I learned as a Scrum Master in my time, if you work with engineers and you say something that's blatantly wrong, they're going to start participating. They can't by somebody saying something completely wrong. So sometimes that works to kind of break the ice.
That's a bold maneuver there, sir.
Yes, but it works. It works, and if it gets the conversation going, I don't mind looking like the fool in the room. In the long run, the team wins, and I win by default.
Varun, let's go to you next.
I think we follow a simple strategy: start doing, stop doing, and keep doing. On what we should keep doing based on like the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on the time of the sprint. And we basically cut out the inefficiencies, right? Like in true Kaizen lean fashion. And if we see something that's bleeding time, let's not even go in that direction, and then just keep building sprint to sprint. So that's a strategy we often use. And I think whether it's I think at the beginning of this call, like tighten the timeline for DSU or eliminate some of these extra calls. I think those are some things that kind of get called out in this, and I think it's pretty useful and effective.
Yeah, I would add when it comes to the retros, I think it's important to depersonalize it. Like, we're not trying to talk about a person or a mistake someone had, because no one wanted whatever bad happened to happen. Like, the cloud company, a whole thing, you did a code release that the cloud went down. Well, we're not going to say, what did Bob do wrong? We're going to say, so let's understand what the process was. Let's talk about process. Let's talk about checkpoints. And we don't need to personalize it. We don't need to use subjective terminology. And I think sometimes it might take some training there to help people kind of be more objective about it. But I think if you're not coming at it you can make sure it's not coming at it from a perspective of who's at fault or who to punish. It's how do we, going forward, what can we change? What can we improve? I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Dilshad?
Yeah, I think you guys gave very good tips on agile ways of working, right? So for me, breaking any tradition means making the friction very visible. It could be how you are doing your sprints and the tools that you're using, or even the ways of working. We need to highlight where some of these long-standing methods are slowing down the teams or reducing the quality. I could say one of my personal experience here, as I could take my experience itself, as a PM, if I am the only person who can articulate the problem, or because I'm the bridge between many teams, and I have all these information in my head, and the old approach is PM is contacted for every information. Engineers depends on the PM's expert. You're kind of creating yourself as a blocker there unknowingly. So when you realize that this is what happening, you would want to break that pattern, and you probably will say, okay, let me bring more allies into the discussion, into the discovery, and into any of the pitching session. So the problem becomes more like a shared mission, like not like a PM monologue. So this actually we tried, and I found that extremely helped. So often what happens is we will not be able to see how some of these traditions or the ways of working that we are having are losing the track. So that is why it's very important that we make this friction very visible, and then automatically we will be taking actions to avoid that, because we all want to go forward with the things and make things work, right? It's just that having that awareness, which is very important.
Yeah. The some other comments that came up with respect to the retros are about sharing out failures can be really helpful and help prevent people from being siloed, and also another user from the LinkedIn sphere points out that the retros, you actually have to be effective and enact change. If you don't, then all that hard work, then nothing will come from it if people aren't seeing any value out of the retros. Jacqueline also pointed out doing the opposite of a retro, and I think that so where retros are kind of post-mortem, you could also do pre-mortems as well. Are another helpful tool out there to have. So I want to get to the next question that came from Becky, going back to when we were just talking about road mapping. Becky's asking, if you don't follow a roadmap, how do you keep the goal and stick to your strategic goals? Anyone want to tackle that?
I did answer Becky's question in the comments. So the point, at least I was making, is it's not like you want to totally get rid of your roadmaps, but you will have still that as in your for guidance and plan. It's just that let's not make it too rigid. It has to be fluid enough to incorporate the fast pace of building things today, right? Like if you're learning that your model is not able to do this task certain way, you can't really wait to prioritize that in the next cycle. You just have to have that space in your roadmap to address those learnings, or whatever the learnings that are coming in, you should be able to act. So that's what I meant. It's not like we wanted to kill the roadmap, or we don't want to see it at all.
Wow, maybe kill it I'd say as in the way it's understood today. But anyway, so I want to go to our. I want in 2025, being kind of a year of pressure, you might say, and creativity. What is one unorthodox product decision you saw succeed this year? Let me go to Ite.
Yeah. So actually, one product decision that went quite good. It wasn't up to me actually. It was our CMO decision to split us into two different squads, and he actually provided me a different manager than I had before. It led me to a place where I was much more independent, and I could do things much more dependently. So I would say that the decision to sometimes divide and conquer will help the business become much more successful. So it's not exactly a product decision, but it's more of a point of view on how you manage your teams. Sometimes dividing the teams into different processes rather than products. Let's say the digital sales and the digital self-service. It really helped the business grow much faster.
Greg, what are your thoughts?
So I agree. Process and the way we organize ourselves is really important and can have a massive impact. So in my world, the most unorthodox decision we tried with a client recently was to implement a hard stop-starting rule on the teams. So what that means is if we hit our work in process limit, we're not allowed to take on any more work until the sprint is over. So even if you're idle, and that
sounds so relaxing.
It's not meant to be. So in this case, traditional management thinks that idle hands are the devil's playground, that whole thing. So if a developer is waiting, managers want them to pick something else up and, stay busy. So what we did is we kind of broke that convention, and we said that if you are blocked, you swarm on someone else's ticket. Get that over the finish line. Don't push things into the sprint. Don't start new inventory. And the results were pretty good. It was really uncomfortable for the first few weeks, but then the momentum started to build up, and people got comfortable with.
What was the discomfort?
Sorry?
What was the discomfort?
The discomfort is like an engineer sitting there and thinking, well, I've got nothing to do.
But didn't you say that? But they're hopping onto someone else to help
So
with someone else.
It's a new habit. It's something different for them to do, and they've never done it that way before. So it can be very uncomfortable, thinking that, oh my God, if I finish this work, or if I'm blocked on this work, I can't continue. And I think that after a few weeks, people just got comfortable with asking to help someone with their ticket, or being asked to help them with the ticket. Because a lot of times, and if you think back to being on a team and being a scrum master or a product owner, sometimes somebody picks up a ticket, they'll get blocked. They'll pick up another ticket while the other one is being unblocked, maybe on a third party or something. And then that first ticket is already unblocked, but they're finishing up the work that they're doing, which is absolutely correct thing to do. But then that other ticket could be worked on, but it's assigned to them. It's still under their name because they're the ones who started it. So there are some percentage of work that's always sitting in this kind of like limbo, and nobody's working on it. And it has the potential to be picked up by somebody else. So in this case, by implementing this change after a couple of sprints, our cycle time went down by about 35%. And that's a pretty big change because we weren't optimizing for resource efficiency. We were optimizing for flow efficiency, and cycle time is flow metric. And that was impacted positively.
So I think some of the best outcomes come from ignoring the safe defaults. So who can share an example of breaking convention that unlocks some new momentum this year? Or previous years. I like to think of it this year, next year.
I have probably one good example to share. So we normally we think that addressing fairness in your model development is more sort of a data science responsibility. It's the model team's responsibility. I'm not specifically speaking about just AI models, even any models like recommender systems, the traditional ML models that we have. When you know that if the systems are amplifying bias or whatsoever, usually the tendency is to look towards the people who build this, and then they figure it out how to address this. But we broke the convention here, saying that we agree that this is the team that they need to fix, but it's not only the algorithmic bias, right? You have different kinds of bias. You have human bias, where humans are doing an action which is feeding into your algorithm. So we had to advertise in such a way, saying that fixing just this part of it is not solving the whole problem. You need to look into addressing the biases and holistic picture of it, and make this part of product strategy. You have to incorporate these discussions from very beginning, and you have to involve all the right parties, not just the data scientists or whoever is working on this. I think this has greatly helped shape the way that everyone involves in addressing the bias. So I think you need to have the addressing the bias or looking into the bias aspects more as a product strategy rather than not just a team's responsibility.
I like that. Bias is a key part of product strategy. Great. Who else?
I can share one real-time example. What we started to do recently, again, to be more efficient and like doing things the right way, is before we ever commit to anything to be like taken into the sprint, just making sure all the dependencies are cleared first, right? And there's a lot of situations where team commits to like 5 things, and 3 things are in flux, and there's a third team that needs to do something precursor to our development, and we kind of go overboard and commit to it. And I think that is something that's a pattern we have tried to address, and basically say no upfront and say these things are not even done by the team that's supposed to give us X, Y, and Z. Let's not just take into the sprint to fill up the sprint and just be inefficient in the end anyway. So we have started either getting pre-alignment first and then intaking those things, rather than mid-sprint figuring out, oh, this is not going to be done anyways. So
Seems like a tough task. How long are the sprints on average or typically?
our sprints are usually 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then our thumb rule is 7 days prior to the sprint start, let's get this dependency removed in advance. If not before the day off, I think as a safe opportunity to bring it in. Otherwise, upfront, we just don't take it because mid-sprint things change, and we're not going to get it done anyways.
I'm imagining some teams and the words they would have for you right now. Go ahead, Greg.
Did you guys, by any chance, set up a definition of ready? I found that in situations where this keeps happening on a regular basis, teams don't feel comfortable calling it out. And by having a written down definition of ready, it gives engineers or anybody on the team and kind of an excuse to point at it and say, well, that's our 10-point list, and point number 3 is missing in this case. So
yeah, there was at one point definition of ready and definition of done both established, right? Like what happens before you start this, and then what happens, or when is it considered as complete? So I think defining those few things definitely have helped, and then kind of putting into practice is the hard part. So doing that a couple of times, making a little bit of mistakes, learning from that, and I think then you basically refine the process. So it's slowly getting better. And we just want to keep doing that more and even improve on that next year.
So I want to transition into kind of thinking a little bit more about next year, 2026, and basically rewriting the playbook for 2026. And so when I'm thinking about that, I guess my first question to everyone is, or observation, you can't change outcomes without changing how people think. So what culture shifts or mindset changes are you planning to lead or push in 2026? Itay?
I have this specific method that being a product manager means that you need to know how to manage people, how to be a focal point or an authority without the official title of being their manager or being their team leader. So my method, and this is something that I've been using for several years, and this is also something I'll take with me all through my career, is simply be your squad's best friend. Be the go-to person. Be the person that they call just to say hi. They call just to know how are you, because this will help the entire ceremonies and the entire rituals to be more in a friendly in a friendly way, and everybody would like to get to these meetings because they want to. So I would say this: be nice, be friendly, make everybody understand that you care about how they feel, how is their life going, because it's not always about profession and career. We are also humans, and this is something that the AI won't be able to do instead of us.
I'm pretty sure we don't design for humans anymore. No, I like that. More outreach for personal connection.
I must say I'll stay the agent's best friend as well. So that's on me.
Greg.
Yeah, you definitely want to be friends with the agents because when they're in charge, you
Oh,
want to
no.
die last. Uh,
Oh,
but
geez.
I,
And look, what an amazing future we have to look forward to. Happy New Year.
that's right. Maybe they'll turn us into their batteries, and that would be good. But I think what you're saying is so important, and again, so overlooked. When I was learning to become a Scrum Master 1,000 years ago, one of the things that stuck with me is that a part of every stand-up and every ceremony should be just, while you're bringing the stuff up on the screen, or if you're distributed while we're waiting for everybody to join, it's perfectly fine to have a little chit chat, to have that kind of camaraderie on the team, so that when somebody has to criticize what somebody else is doing, then it won't feel like this is a person I don't know, and it's coming out of who knows what kind of place for that person. It's coming from a place of love because you've talked about each other's lives, you've connected, and it's created a culture on the team that is super important and conducive to all the other difficult conversations.
Varun?
But I think in addition to everything that was mentioned, both by Greg and Ite, I think two things on a personal level, that at least I wish to inculcate, myself and the team is, I think, stick to two principles. I think it's part of the Amazon principles. The two that stick to me is bias for action and disagree and commit. Because sometimes I think the disagree and commit is something that is very hard to achieve, right? When people get involved, like they're like, hey, my solution is the right solution. Not going to agree to this just because it's not the way I, envision this. So I think a little bit of muscle, like building muscle memory to go in that direction and say, hey, this is not the way I proposed, but I still agree to it just for the general, direction of taking the product or this whole thing forward. And then obviously that is basically hand in hand with bias for action. So get the action out there first after having a conversation and just move forward rather than hold everyone back. So thank you.
Sometimes they just switch on their own. So with the new year coming up, it's a good chance to reset. And so, what's one outdated habit or process you're encouraging your team to retire in the next year? Dilshad.
Okay, so I would say retire this thinking of launching something or releasing something is equal to success. I often see people, there's nothing wrong. Like it is an important milestone when you launch something, when you release a feature, you celebrate. But I see that that's not like in your finishing line in the race, right? You shouldn't just, you reached an important milestone, good to celebrate, but don't stop there. Actually, that's not your finish line. You have to make sure that are we moving the metrics that we actually want to, are we creating the value that we actually wanted, intended to, with this launch or the release. Because often what happens is as soon as you release, you wouldn't see the result of it, right? You need to run A/B tests, or you probably have to wait for a few months to get that user input. I somehow see that people celebrate more on the launches and the releases and this cool feature went on live, but that excitement should be there until you kind of see to the metrics and understand, yes, we moved the right needle, we have created the value that we wanted to for the business or the users. So or I would say is retire the thinking of launch equal to success. It's not.
Shaheen?
Yeah, maybe I got to rewind a little bit to the, what we're looking at in 26, and what I'm thinking about is just an incredible focus on value and just getting back to basics, product basics, and just owning the value and like really owning it, and not just accepting like kind of if some executives come and say, hey, do this, do that, then holding them up to the same standard of like your value metrics. Is this value? And pushing back on that. I feel like a lot of product people may just kind of go along with that, just saying, yeah, okay, if I kind of deliver what they're asking for, that's going to be security, and we can keep riding this wave. But then I think what a lot of product people learn is that even if you do kind of go along with that, maybe that still will be the end of your time in a certain place. So being more true to yourself and the product and the business, and just like hunkering down and pushing back if you have to. So that's kind of where my head's at right now. Yeah.
Gotcha. Anyone else?
I would say I would refer to the entire product team and not the squad itself. I would say outdate the competition, outdate the fact that you need to feel that you're doing something better than the product manager next to you, because both of you eventually have the same interest of developing the business, developing the team, and talking bad behind your backs, or saying something about the other product manager won't help the business grow, won't help the incomes become larger. So I would say outdate this bad habit.
So get rid of the bad habit of competing with your coworkers.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
I think the concept of competing with oneself, being better today than you were yesterday and tomorrow than today, is probably the most healthy way to incorporate competition in our daily lives. I think for a lot of people, I can't speak for everybody, but for myself included, I think competing with others becomes toxic at some point.
Yep. No, for myself, when I plan out my day and I plan it out analog. Um, so I get rid of a lot of that distraction. But when I do that, one of the bullets I always have in my daily planning, there to what you were just saying, was I have a section called small adjustment. And so every day I try to identify, based on the reflections of the previous day and what I'm trying to do today, what is that one teeny tiny smallest adjustment I can make today that would be an improvement. And so every day I'll spend a little bit extra time just to make sure I can find like what's that one thing, because there's always something. So sometimes you gotta sit stew in it for a few minutes to find it. But yeah, no, I like a lot of that there. So as we're closing out this year, we're not closing out but not necessarily the conversation. I want to leave this session, this topic, kind of with a collective challenge, and so I'm going to go around to everyone here for this. And so, what's one thing each of us can start doing now to raise the bar in product management next year? And so I'm gonna go in order from bottom to top. So Ite, I'll start with you.
I would say exactly the tip that you just gave. The small adjustments. To think today, think tomorrow, think yesterday. How you can make the small improvements, what we like to call the quick wins in yourself. This is how you should look. Plan every day the next day, because if you plan the entire year and at the end of the year you won't reach your goals, it might be more disappointing than all those small wins you can have the entire week, then the entire month, and the entire year.
Yeah,
Dilshad?
actually, I have 2 points, but I will lean on to the topic
Excellent.
just we discussed now. I think one thing which I wanted to start doing now to raise the bar is you don't need to feel competitive about your peers, but I would say see how each of these peers has inspired you in some ways which you could learn from them, right? There could be a great PM in your team who is fantastic in adapting to the recent evolution of the AI. See how what is that this person is doing for him or her to be up to the speed with how market is evolving. What can you learn from this person, not just on the learning aspect or how someone is doing good, even it could be their interpersonal skills. Not necessarily everyone are very charismatic, but there are few things which you could try to learn by looking at others, looking at taking inspiration from others, not necessarily competing. I wanted to inculcate, or I have actually started, is every day I have this little journal where I write at the workplace who has inspired me in any form today, right? That's one. And then I also do this on the personal front as well. Who is that one person from who inspired me today in a ways that never I have thought of, and I write it. And what I do is usually I go through this as well as part of like once in a month or two. I'm still very old way of doing things. I like to write it in kind of a small book, not necessarily on the digital tools. But this gives you a lot of good perspective on the things that you improve, the things that you wanted to learn, without having the stress of, oh, I want to compete with this person, I want to show that I'm much better than this person. So that's yeah, one that I wanted to add. And another one is, in general, this is more related to my work itself, not the skills. Is more about I wanted to be very intentional about building or designing the AI capabilities more for trust, not just for the engagement. Because in the current, the with the advent of all the AI technologies, the engagement meaning for the engagement has changed. For example, in the past, if the users had interacted with your recommenders, you would see, oh, the click through rate is increasing, so I know we are doing very good. But now it's not the case. Now if your user is interacting more with your AI, it doesn't mean that the person liked it. Maybe they are trying to achieve a task and the AI is not helping, therefore the number of questions are increasing, user trying to complete the task. So here it is totally opposite. Now the situation has changed. So I want to build products more to add more trust, not just purely on engagement or certain metric.
I like that. Varun.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I think we already touched upon it. I think learn from others. As I think we just heard, learn what the others are doing great, and try to be a student always. Stay curious, and keep an open mind, the growth mindset. I think that's something that I've always taken with me. Inspect what you expect. I always wear the product hat, but sometimes I go and test out my own products, right? I play around as a customer, as a user, as like an end user, because in the end we are PMs and we launch things for customers to use. So just keep wearing different hats, stay curious, and learn from others.
Shaheen.
Yeah, certainly learning from others. I'll piggyback on that. And I think for product people, figuring out how can you integrate AI into your workflows, and not necessarily particularly with the end product, but just in your day-to-day, like what can you use, what different tools can you use to enhance your own personal capabilities? I found a lot of success already with prototyping. It's it's insane actually right now. It's so easy, and the output it's crazy. So small experiments like this with different tools can have a huge impact. But I think that needs to be paired, with some like groups, people that are trying and practicing in the space, right? Like we need to learn from each other. Like, what are you trying? What are you doing? What's working? What's not? I'm having a problem in this area. What can I use? Well, try this tool. Because, you know, there's tons and tons of tools out there today. And it's like more and more just spawning all the time, right? And evolving. So I think it's going to be important to kind of like find a cohort and share what your experiments are and how they're going and the impact that they're having.
And Greg.
I love everybody's answer. You guys really like leaned into the connection piece. I'm going to go slightly in a different direction because of that, because just to bring it back a little bit to the hard work that we do. And what I would say is we need to stop treating estimates like guarantees. So starting tomorrow, this is a challenge. The internet loves challenges. So starting tomorrow, refuse to give a single date for any deliverable. Instead, what you could do is give a probabilistic forecast. So let's say instead of saying, you know, on December 25th, we're going to say we have an 85% confidence that we'll deliver something on December 25th. Although that's a terrible date. I don't know why I picked it. I know it sounds like a small language change, but it kind of forces everybody, leadership included, to stop thinking in terms of like a deadline, because organizations that are practicing Agile and organizations that say they're not practicing Agile, but practicing enough Agile that they are actually practicing Agile, everybody's accepted the fact that there's some variability in all of our estimates and predictions, but a lot of organizations still treat it as if it's like a drop dead date. And I think giving a percentage will highlight that and signal to the engineers and the people on the team that this has been a recognized thing and that you've got their back in that, rather than that they're being held to account for a deadline that oftentimes they didn't even create.
So I assume, since you're suggesting this, that you have success in implementing it. And I guess my follow-up for you is, what advice do you have in, I guess, getting people on board with this idea? Because I know many a C-suite that maybe I just lack the creative vision here. I cannot imagine getting on board with probabilistic. I love the idea. I don't know how accurate probability, like where you come up with 80. Why 85%? Why not 73? Or how you come up with the percentages? But what advice do you have for someone who's interested in implementing that? How could they? What advice do you have for implementation?
Sure. So I would say if you just started in your job and this is your first week,
don't do it.
I mean, unless you already know you don't like it there, then you know that could solve your problem. But to be serious for a second, which is all I can handle, if you have a good relationship with your stakeholders and a good relationship with your team, this is an opportunity to leverage some of those relationships and to explain why you're doing it, to communicate that here are previous deliverables for the past 6 months. Here's how the dates shifted. So we are recognizing the fact that none of these dates are written in stone and guaranteed. And we also recognize that our partners within the organization are making reliances on those dates. So saying that it's going to be on a certain date and pretending like that's always going to be a guarantee is disingenuous. And it also puts our partners in a bind because they know that it's not going to be that date, but they don't know how likely it's not going to be on that date. And they don't know how to adjust their workflows to account for all of this. Maybe they need to work on something else and push out the date that they will be taking on your work and doing their piece with it, or interacting with your team. So by having these dates, especially now that AI is becoming a bigger and bigger part of our lives and we can better manage these all of this data, having this data presented to our partners makes it possible for them to rely on this. And the way I would get these dates normally is I would talk to the team. And not only does this build a better relationship with the team because they understand that you're communicating things as they are rather than then coming back and saying, well, we had initially estimated that it was going to be on the 15th. The 18th was not going to work, so we're all going to have to work over the holiday. And I'm sorry about that. And that's all there is to it. Instead of that, you're recognizing that there is some unpredictability in the work that we do.
Gotcha. You don't happen to have anything published on this, do you?
No, but now I'm thinking maybe I should.
All right. When you do, let me know so I can
I'll throw it
spread
up
the
on my
word, because I
Substack.
think there'd be a lot of people interested in reading up more on this
Great suggestion.
topic. So that brings us to our middle of our show here today. Like I said, extra special event today, and so that brings us to our trivia segment. And so, just so everyone knows, I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to say the question. Do not, if you're in the chat room, whether you're in the on-camera or off-camera part of the roundtable, do not say the answer to this question. Please. We will get to the answer and a whole fun song and dance, maybe even a real song, at the end of the show. You have to stick around to see. I'm only gonna sing if we've got enough viewers at that time. If we have enough viewers, I'll sing. So definitely check out the trivia question. Do not say the answer. If you want to say other things, feel free. But allow me to introduce you to our trivia for this show today. Which old tech company started with the sale of a broken laser pointer? Once again, which old tech company started with the sale of a broken laser pointer? All right. So there we go. What happened? Seems like the camera's disappeared for a sec. Sorry about that, everyone. Don't know what happened. So that's the trivia question. Do not say the answer, anyone, anywhere. If you have it, hold it in your mind, hold it close, and then we will get to that. So with that said, we're gonna start get into our next section. But I just want the most damaging habits in product, they don't really show up as explosive mistakes. They hide inside your rituals. They look like you're doing work when you're actually just spinning your wheels. And so we're going to try to expose some of them right now and to name the patterns that waste time, drain energy, erode clarity, and more importantly, especially, and on a more positive note, talk about what works better. And so we're going to talk about some of the anti-patterns in product management and what we keep getting wrong. Oh my gosh. But before we jump into the roundtable, I do want to hear from, as I say, the on-camera roundtable. I want to hear from the off-camera roundtable. And so most of us have experienced these moments where something looks like good product practice. It feels off. It's familiar. It's everywhere. It's not helping. And so I thought it'd be good if we could name some of these habits that we want to leave behind. So if you're in the chat and in the comments, share what you think some of those bad habits are that we should leave behind. And to the round table, this isn't just a conversation about everything that goes wrong. It's really about raising the bar. And so I want to try to take a more positive outlook. So product anti-patterns are everywhere. And we've touched on some of these ideas, I think, a little bit in the first topic. Meetings that feel productive but aren't, roadmaps that comfort rather than clarify, rituals that preserve dysfunction instead of progress. And so I like to kind of go through and name them, unpack them, why do they persist, and how really explore what we could be doing better. So I think a good place to start is just naming some of these anti-patterns. And so let's start with some of the obvious traps. Dilshad, what's one widespread product practice that you find causes much more harm than teams realize?
Having the bloated backlogs. So if your teams are treating these backlogs like a storage unit, and sometimes I see people get very personal about the stories that they created, and then they keep it in backlog, and they're like, don't delete, we have to come to it at one point. It's we have to address it, but it's there for 2 years and we haven't really done anything with it. Then why do you have it? It's so it is with, you have to get rid of it. I
Guilty in a
mean,
previous life.
yeah, you
Yes.
just have to put a timeline and say anything beyond 4 months we haven't touched. Maybe not necessarily 4 months. You could decide your timeline, but you have to get rid of these bulky backlogs where it's just piling up, and it is an unnecessary diversion for you to see what is there, what we have to refine, and even having that conversations, right? So I would say trim your backlog and keep it simple and clear.
Oh my God,
Right.
that's such a good point. Brings me back to my Scrum Master days. Whenever I would start at a new job, I would just go through Jira. Anything older than 2 years, anything that hasn't been updated in 2 years, that would go on like day one, because then before anybody realizes I was even there, and I would get rid of that. I so agree with you. Oh my God, because then it just keeps going up and up and up when you have a big backlog. Because rather than just somebody comes up with an idea, they want to add it to the backlog, rather than just going in and seeing if somebody already put it in there, that it's easier to just put it in again rather than look through 600 items. And then somebody else has the same idea 3 months later, and now you've got like 10 tickets over a number of years. Oh my God, that's so resonated. I'm getting like,
So, Greg, since you've got the floor, what's another
for me,
practice that? Yeah.
Story point astrology. This is like something that I think is kind of destructive. This is where you've got like ridiculously highly paid engineers debating whether something is like a 3 or a 5. It feels like it's planning and feels like data, but it's actually just false precision. So this is especially like difficult for teams that are very new to story pointing. So you're taking months to learn how to do it and start getting good at it, or reasonably good at it. Fibonacci numbers are not currency, and we're like trading them sometimes and behaving as if they are. I think it's very destructive because it trains teams to focus on points, which is effort, rather than value, which is the outcome. So if you want to unbreak your agile, what I would do is I would stop debating points and break your work down small enough that you can just count the items, kind of like a brick factory counts the bricks. They don't count how much effort or story points goes into each brick. Try to make it the same way and count the items coming off the assembly line, which is throughput, which is what you're trying to do, a flow metric, and you're trying to improve it. So I would get away from story points because they're just vibes. And of course, with anything else, if your team is working within the story pointing and it's working for you and you're happy and you're getting good results, stick with it by all means. But if it's not working and you've given it a fair shot, don't twist your team into a pretzel. Just move on to throughput.
Itai?
I would say people writing entire PRDs in a single user story. This is a really
Well, I
bad
got to
habit.
save it somewhere.
Well, you can save it in Confluence. This is why we have PRDs. This is why you can ask the engineering team to review this document prior to the design review, and then when you go to the design review, don't just read the entire PRD. And real talking, I would say, make sure your user stories are as pure as possible. Even if it means you need to open as much user stories as needed in order to make it as simple as possible. I don't say just open a single user story to the save button, that this button should save the user selection, but I do say do not enroll the entire functionality and the entire meaning of this development in a single user story. And this is a very valuable tip if you want to maintain a good relationship with the engineering team.
What are there so apparently a lot of agile problems I'm hearing. Are there any non-agile processes or frameworks or practices that you can identify, that folks can identify?
Sure. Yeah. How about just general plain old command and control top down? You do this, build that, and get it for me next week. How about we get rid of that one? Really big proponent of the people, and I'll talk about this more later, but the people closest to the problems, having the most context and ability to solve those like complex problems really that we're dealing with. So I think, things, anti-patterns or things to eliminate is viewing a team just as like they're there to execute on XYZ, or take these stories and do these stories, or this chunk, So I think, I think that's kind of the pattern that I would like to see go away.
Dilshad, what's something that's I think that you've seen that sounds like good product work, but usually that you found signals problems or trouble?
This one. Sometimes in terms of the prioritization, right? When you sit for the prioritization discussion, we tend to use a lot of these frameworks like RICE framework and other frameworks. In reality, yes, these are very guiding tools. I'm not saying they are useless, but then the point is they're not that magical pill for everything. You need to have some sense of, okay, you can give any numbers, you can hype up the numbers, and because product managers are very passionate about their ideas, right? I'm at least speaking for myself. I want this feature to go out there, so therefore I'm gonna amplify it to whatever extent I could, saying that this is the best thing that users will be seeing tomorrow, or this is going to impact 2 million people's life, and then I can hype it up and then get my RICE score up. So then it goes into the prioritization. So I feel like relying only on these kind of frameworks to get the prioritization done will definitely result in a long term, will result into delivering few things which might not be very impactful ones. So you need to have a little bit of a common consensus, or you need to have your team principles which you need to adhere to go back and reflect and see, are we doing things the way we are supposed to do as well. You see what I mean? So yeah,
I think it's not so much the framework itself, but I think correct me here, it's when the framework becomes the standard mode of operating that
exactly.
People start to gamify and rig the frameworks to serve their purpose.
Yeah. I mean, the loudest mouth in the room might win. I'm not saying this happens everywhere, but as in product managers, you would have experience at one point of your career, right? So, yeah.
Yep. Ite, same question to you.
I need a second to think about it.
All right, we'll go to who wants to take it then while Ite is thinking. Uh-oh, it's stuck on Ite. What are we gonna do? Greg, Shaheen? Shaheen, oh, look at that smile.
Oh, all right, thanks. Remind me of the question again. What's going on?
The question is, what's something that sounds like good product work, but often signals trouble?
Man. Oh, man. Putting us into the tank with this one, huh?
I know, right?
Holy.
I'm only going to pick the people who don't have an answer for this question.
Perfect.
Yeah, but then until we taking time to think, you could see that there's comment from the user or comment from whoever is listening. Maybe you could also take that and address.
Oh, that's a good point.
I
Look
thought
at
that's a
that.
fair point. Yeah, they
From
had
LinkedIn user.
Bailing us out.
Yeah, I want to avoid scheduling recurring meetings without. Man, that font should be bigger. Without an agenda or purpose, I try to avoid scheduling meetings unless there's a specific topic or a decision that's needed. I also, for myself, I also make sure if there's no agenda, there's no meeting. So I go a little bit further. I want to know what are the bullets. What are we covering? What decisions need to be made?
100%. That's a very valid point. I mean, you end up going into this meeting sometimes yawning and not knowing what's happening. People just telling their status doesn't add any value. The meeting has to have the purpose and clear outcomes from that meeting, right? These are by the next meeting or some definitive timeline. These are the actions that we wanted to have. So meetings should always have this. Clear agenda and value to it. Just having for the sake of, because it is a cadence, you need to go and speak, it's a waste of time for all the people in the room.
Greg?
Agreed. So many of our meetings are they grow to fill the time. And what could have been a 5-minute email turns into a 30-minute or, God forbid, 45 to an hour. But getting back to the other question, I think there's a lot on us as product leaders, and that is that sometimes we want to do too much rather than delivering a solid user story, maybe some acceptance criteria, maybe not, maybe just a solid user story, and letting the team take it from there. We tend to overproduce and give too much detail, essentially solutioning in the user story or in Jira, when we should just be saying, hey, we just want to get across the river over there by that big oak tree and leave it at that. Because, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And sometimes our good intentions are to set the team up for success and give them more than they would expect. But giving them more locks them into a solution that may not be optimal.
I would say another sign of a product going wrong is if you happen to have a recurring meeting with the design. You find yourself in 3, 4, 5, even 10 meetings with the design on the same feature, trying to explain them the purpose of the new development and what you're trying to achieve, and yet they are not getting where it should go. So something is off, either with the communication, or either with the designer, or either with how you explain the need behind the feature. So if you see yourself getting into an infinite loop of meetings with the designer, something needs to be pulled out, rethinking, and do it again.
Yeah, I can jump in also. Documentation in itself is not really like going to have an impact to the business necessarily, right? You're after like the product thing that's impacting the users. So, there are ways, like looking for ways to like how can you shortcut that process, right? And, the most effective team that I ever had was our chief technology guy, and it was our chief design guy, or a lead designer. And he didn't even do, like, he did like a couple screens of design work, and then they just pair programmed, where the designer was sitting next to him and he was like, hey, can you move this over, move that up there, move this, when you click here, it's going to go there. And it was just it was just a clickable prototype. There was no documentation. It was just like the documentation was the clickable prototype, which was in the end just wired up. So I think there's looking for ways to kind of dodge dodge extra work on the peripheries can be useful.
Got it. So sometimes the process looks healthy, but the outcomes don't. How do
Yeah.
you spot when the team is stuck in a pattern that's not delivering real value? Greg?
So for me, the biggest warning sign is something I call the watermelon effect. This is when all your statuses and reports, they look green on the outside. You know, it's your velocity's going great, scope is done, timing is all green, thumbs up on everything. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you cut it open, the reality is it's red inside. So the technical debt is piling up, and I know that that's like a very sensitive topic.
But the red is the tasty part of the watermelon.
Yes, that's true. And the technical debt keeps us all fed for years and years and years. So totally agree. But if we're not doing QA, and come on, how many of us have been in a situation where due to timelines and constraints and other problems, we just rush through or skip QA completely? And how does that generally work out? Not on an individual basis, but like in an aggregate. So the way you can see this is when the team is reporting that they're 90% to done for like 3 sprints in a row. And what this causes, and this is, I joke, but there's at the end of all of this, there are real world repercussions, and in aggregate, these real world repercussions destroy teams, destroy projects, destroy organizations in some cases. And that in this case, it's executive blindness, because they're looking at these reports because that's all they get to see, and everything is green. They think everything's great until it's not. And in the meantime, they're dumping more work on the team and thinking that, okay, so this is going to be fine. By the time things turn red in the reports, it's too late to fix anything. It becomes a crisis. And there's no point in having these metrics if they're dishonest or they're behind.
Dilshad?
Well, I have an interesting way to see how if my team is stuck in non-value adding pattern. This is also partially because I wanted to ensure if the team has understood the goals very clearly. Because if they understand the objective and the goals clearly, in a way, everything falls in track, right? They know, okay, before even I pick up this tech debt story, this is most important because we have committed to it, or probably we need to fix this in order to help us to move forward. So I want to ensure that the team doesn't go into the trap of picking up something which is non-value added. That can only happen when they are very clear about the objectives and the direction of set for the team, right? So the way that I do is I usually try to pick up the cues from different ceremonies we have. I agree that we have already discussed about a lot of ceremonies being not so useful, but there are useful ceremonies as well. For example, in retros, you kind of ask health questions like, how many people feel that they are pawns or players? How many people feel that they are very clear with the goals or their value is contributing to the organization? I kind of see how these numbers are fluctuating. If I see more people are like, then I try to question why do you have this sense, this feeling that you are not an active player in it, so that I understand where that sentiment is coming from and why that the motivation is coming from. And another way for us to understand is also like, we do this sprint demos, right? We encourage engineers to take turns. Everyone, no matter junior or senior engineers, everyone takes turn and present in the demos. And what happens is, what is the most important thing that I would look for is this person able to explain the impact clearly, not just saying that we released XYZ, but we released XYZ because we wanted to launch this feature for this users and move this objective. So that if someone is struggling, that then it is a very clear signal for me that we need to go back to to the discussion of understanding what our goals are, so that you continuously iterate and make sure that the people understand this, so that they don't fall into the trap of picking something non-value added stuff. That's my way, but yeah.
That's great. That's great. What's anyone else wanted to add to that one before I go on to the next?
Yeah, I can jump in. Just kind of mirroring that reviews seem like the best place to get insight into what's happening. Actually showing the work, and sometimes people will say, "Well, it's not done," and it's like, "All right, can you show me like what is done there?" Well, there's no UI. It's like, "All right, can you show me some code?" And and actually asking people to get in there, and then I can read it, but I don't know what's going on. So having them walk me through, and it's like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then you're starting to get insights as a product person as well, to say like, oh, you structured it in that way. That means maybe that impacts some other stories, or how we piece some other pieces of the puzzle together. But actually like, getting people to show their work. And Dilshad, I like how you said asking them to explain the value. So like almost, not pushing the product work to them, but being sure that they've picked up the message of the value, because then they can start to build around that and hold on to the ideas. I thought that was really cool.
So even strong teams get stuck once in a while, and so what do you listen for, or what do you listen for, or look for to know when it's time to pause, reset, rethink the current approach?
I can jump in on this thing. I think the most clear sign is after you did the design review, and after you delivered the user stories, and development teams started to work on it. I would say that the most clear flag that you can look at it is if after all these processes, the development team and the engineering team is still coming back with questions. There are still unclear instructions. And I'm not talking about 1, 2, or 3 times. I'm talking about when it's constantly keep going, even after all the ceremonies and even after all the reviews you did with the development team. So I would say this is a big red flag that you should take in order to consider it, and maybe change the approach that you did with the engineering team on this specific matter.
I would like to add on to Ita's point. That's a great point. Actually, the point that you're making is it's not like one time. The patterns, that's very important. We understand the patterns. It could be anything, right? Even missing your commitments, like you are saying that I do understand you don't want to commit to a deadline this date, but you are saying in this quarter we wanted to deliver this, and you're missing this quarter on quarter, and this pattern is very evident. Then that's a clear indication for us to understand something is not going right. And you always hear people also saying we are doing everything like in the way that it needs to be. We are coordinating, we are transparent, but nothing is changing. These kind of statements are a classic signal for me to understand that this process needs a rethink. Not like if something is going bad again and again, definitely it needs to be relooked. And this is where I pay more attention to the patterns evolving.
I can jump into if that's all right. I'm thinking like more from a big picture level, when maybe the team is focused on delivering this thing on a particular set of technology that has some functionality restrictions or boundaries there. But then maybe you have in your mind a vision for like what's to come in quarters or years down the line that may not necessarily fit with this framework. So, I think if there's been times when it's kind of like, and it's almost like an intuition type of thing, right? You're like, okay, I see what we're doing now. I see where this could become a problem in the future. And maybe the whole team needs to step back for a moment and say, hey, this is what we're working on, this is what we may be working on or could potentially be working on, and where we might be limited and where this might become an issue, which is not going to be an issue today, but might become one down the line. So I think that would be, if you have these like gut feeling, that might be a time to like bring it up, have a little special session, big picture session, and talk about the technology involved, where we're going, and how this might work in the future.
Greg?
I'm a big believer in observing human behavior. It's kind of an interest of mine, just something I've picked up over the years. And language, I find, oftentimes it tells you more than you imagine. So what I look for on a team, especially when they're under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, things aren't going great, when they shift away from the word we to the word they, the team might say, we missed the deadline or we have too much technical debt, and that's fine. But when they start saying things like, they keep changing requirements, they won't let us refactor, they set unrealistic dates, they've shifted into kind of a mental state of learned helplessness, which means that the whole system isn't really working for them, and divorce themselves from the outcomes of their own work. So they're already kind of disconnecting and detaching from the work. And at this point, it's very, very hard. No amount of process or team spirit or anything like that will fix it. You have to stop. You have to do a reset. You have to reset the psychological safety and rebuild their sense of agency if you want anything to go well after that.
Yeah, on that point of resetting, rebuilding, progress requires confronting the real problem. So, what's one anti-pattern your team successfully broke, and how did you do it? Dilshad?
Again, I'll take an example of the PM itself. Let's put PMs on spot today more than any agile practices or engineers. So one habit that I broke or I kind of changed is PM being the owner of the entire pitch. Like this PM going everywhere and trying to pitch the idea and selling the idea and getting the buy-in, and you see this person is the representative of this idea everywhere. I I mean, instead, we bought a change saying that let's bring engineers into some of the user conversations that we are having, because usually only the PM sit with the user research and ask the questions. But when we involve some of the data scientists and engineers, not necessarily they will be involved in the questions itself, but being just the silent spectators of what's happening. And they come back with owning that problem, not just the PM being passionate about this. They come back owning the problem and have this motivation. Oh, this is the problem that the users are facing, and we need to help in order to solve this, which you can't achieve by giving any fancy slides and presentation with any articulation that you could do. So that kind of worked very well. And at the same time, you kind of bring, like, problem is more shared, alignment and movement increases immediately. Because one thing that I want to add is, oh, like I have mentioned this earlier as well, sometimes PMs are very passionate about this idea that they are breeding, which is not wrong. As PMs, we always have to be passionate about. But what happens is when you somehow manage to get your ideas into the implementation for, let's say, a couple of quarters or a year, and you got your features there, but people don't see the value. When I say people, it could be your teams who trusted your whatever you have said and they delivered it. They don't see the value, and they're like, she's always gonna amplify things, and they don't get buy into what you're saying. So the best way is for them to see what the user needs are. You don't need to drag them into all the user conversations, but at least having them involved into this process. At the same time, also sales and the marketing team or someone in your internal stakeholders being allies of your pitch, and they also joining and coming and saying, hey, this is what we are trying to achieve. This is probably a deal breaker for the next sale over there for us. So these kind of things actually bring a lot of motivation into the people and bring shared ownership. So that's one anti-pattern that we successfully broke.
Itai?
Yeah, one anti-pattern that I actually experienced a lot in my last role was people just jumping from all over the open space and say we need this feature and we need this one and we need this one and this one must happen yesterday. So actually we broke it in a in a funny way. We had this like an erase board that at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of when we first initiated this idea, people just wrote their ideas on this board. This must happen. This must happen. This must happen. And we kind of showed them what happens to an idea that's just being thrown without any context, without any explanation regarding the business need, regarding which solution it comes to solve, which problem it comes to solve. So at the end of the day, we just erased all these ideas. And after, I think it was 2 or 3 days, that people came over and said, "Oh, we get it. We just throw in ideas and you just delete them because you don't have anything to hold on." So this is how actually I solved this anti-pattern of just throwing ideas at the PM.
Excellent. Greg?
So earlier on in my career, when I was a Scrum Master, I joined and was supporting a data warehouse team. It had 2 Scrum teams, and they essentially supported the entire organization. Everybody within all the senior people in the organization, right under the CTO, utilized their services, and they were building things for each one of those leaders. And they gotten into a pattern where they kept rolling over all of the work from sprint to sprint to sprint because they just couldn't complete it. This had been going on for a long time, so they built up a lot of ill will with their stakeholders, so they could never say no. They could never set their own deadlines, and they could never push back on anything. And as soon as I joined and I realized that this was happening, because they weren't delivering any more than they could, they just kept switching from task to task to task, hardly completing anything. I had them declare bankruptcy. We went to all of our stakeholders. There was a lot of skepticism, but we went to all of our stakeholders. We told them that we were declaring bankruptcy. None of the commitments that we had made formerly were valid anymore, and that we were going to just start from scratch. We asked them for 2 initiatives that were top priority, and everything else is going to go back into the backlog. And we essentially got a chance to turn the page and start over. We took those 2 commitments from every stakeholder. We decided when the new date is going to be that we are actually going to be able to deliver, and we stuck to it. But we didn't take on any new work. We didn't bring anything unplanned into any of our sprints. We didn't plan full capacity. We planned 80, 85%. And we got out of that hole simply by just declaring bankruptcy and starting over. And everything changed on the team. The morale changed because their stakeholders were happy. The environment changed because stakeholders were now coming to us and asking us, when can this be done, rather than saying, this is when I need this delivered by. They started treating us more as a partner because we started behaving more as a partner. And that changed everything. And it gave us a lot of goodwill within the organization to ask for things when we needed them. And that was just revolutionary. And we turned it around.
I think, Greg, that's a very insightful experience. Thanks for sharing. I have a question. So what's one thing product leaders can do to create an environment where anti-patterns get exposed early? One
Shaheen,
thing or multiple things.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Sure.
a great question. Shaheen, you want to
Sure.
tackle
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. One concept that from the agile coaching sphere that I really like is an impediments, like an impediments board or an impediments backlog. And so it's just like as you notice things or as people notice things, like throwing it on the impediments backlog and just saying like, hey, it could
And
be
just
a
like all
pattern.
the other backlogs, after a few months, we just delete
Yeah,
them.
in 2 years it'll go away and we'll bankrupt it. But you know how to, but really building this impediments backlog and then having like special impediment bashing sessions that are cross-functional team that has everybody that you need required to like be able to knock some of these things out. So I think that I like that. I really do like that concept.
Psychological safety. If people don't feel comfortable saying things and speaking the difficult truths, then we're just all living comfortable lives. And that's a line that I gave all of our stakeholders back then.
But that's what Disney World is all about.
That's true, but I didn't work with it.
I 100% agree what Greg said. I think that's the fundamental. Like the leaders, whoever is in the organization, have to create this environment where it is psychologically safe enough for people to voice their opinions, where they can, without any hesitation, they can go and say, hey, this is not working, right? You need to have that courage. That means leaders have that responsibility of creating that environment. And another important element that I have personally seen as well or experienced is that I noticed if the teams are very diverse and inclusive, they naturally bring a wider range of perspectives. Like I have worked at different places, and now currently I am working with a team which is very diverse and very inclusive. I see that they have a stronger voices, different cultures, right? They just simply can't keep quiet, or they don't have this attitude of, oh, they're saying us to do it, let's go ahead and do it. They kind of go and question you, and you will have this kind of attitude or a place where you can voice openly is not by having only one group of people. You need to really bring mixed crowd into your teams. I think this is a responsibility of the leaders to have these kind of inclusive and diverse teams. It might not, I don't know how many of you have experienced, but I have noticed that when you have this kind of an spread, they're usually very bold, honest, and they bring up issues, they highlight it without any hesitation, and that kind of influences others to question as well.
Excellent. No, that's great. That's really great. The so we all fall into different patterns. The difference between good and great teams is, whether we notice and fix them. So what's one product habit you're committing to break or rebuild in 2026? And I want to go all around the room for this one. I'm going to start with Ite.
Wow, that's a really nice question. I would say I'm committing to rebuild the research enthusiasm. I think a major part of being a product manager is being enthusiastic regarding the research part of every development you're going to do, whether it's a benchmarking or user research or user interviews. And in the past year, it's something that went a bit off the radar for me, and it's something that I would like to get back to in 2026.
Oh, great. Shaheen?
Yeah, we had some road mapping talks today. So, reinventing or reimagining the roadmap, and going with like an impact roadmap. So not a feature set or not an epic set, but more of an impact. This is the impact that we're trying to have, and by when. And maybe this is like a quarterly thing or whatever the timing happens to be. And then I think that's like a nice way that you can hang like OKRs, objectives and key results, like right on to those. So I think that's what one focus area will be for me this coming year is the impact roadmap as like a tool for communication. It's a focus on value that we're delivering to the business, and then the OKR is going to say, here's how we're delivering the value, and here are the metrics or the KPIs that are tacked on or being tracked with that. To give some more power to the teams that are, owning that stuff. I think that's important.
I like that a lot. Greg.
So I'm committed to breaking the habit of jumping into hero mode whenever the project is going sideways and the metrics are starting to turn red. That's kind of, I'm type A personality in many ways. It's kind of my muscle memory as a leader to swoop in and take over and fix the delivery, get it across the finish line. But every time I'm doing that, I realize that I'm actually hurting the team. And I'm masking the systemic failures that may have caused this problem to occur in the first place, which is robbing the team of the opportunity to then discuss that problem in the retrospective. So 2026, I'm going to try and sit on the sidelines a little bit more, watch the team deal with their problems, and hopefully help them learn how to do it on their own rather than stepping in and fixing it for them.
Dilshad?
Right. So for me, I'm a strong advocate of responsible AI, applying responsible AI into your work. So in 2026, I want to expand my sense of responsibility from fairness and safety to also the environmental consequences of the AI we build. Because responsible AI isn't only about like protecting the people, right? It's all about protecting the planet. And what we design today consciously is going to shape the sustainability of AI in the generations to come. So I strongly believe we need to be deliberate about the environmental footprint of the systems we design. And as an AI product managers, we have great responsibility in towards that.
That's great. That's great. So this kind of wraps up this part of this segment of this topic. We're going to now go back to trivia, and I don't know if you happen to forget the trivia question, allow me to refresh your memory. Which old tech company started with the sale of a broken laser pointer? Once again, which old tech company started with the sale of a broken laser pointer? All right, so there we go. That's the question. Does anyone in the room or around the table, in the comments, on camera, off camera, think they know the answer to this question, this trivia question today? Anyone? No. Anyone want to guess? No guesses? Oh no! I in 2026, I'm going to come up with easier trivia questions, more accessible trivia questions. I think is what I'll be shooting for.
Well, I think we are very involved in the discussion. I couldn't sneakily go and search. Well, that's not what you want. You want people to answer.
No, don't sneakily search. That's
So we're
horrible.
very engaged in the conversation.
I don't want to hear any sneakily searched answers. That's not cool. That's not cool at all.
I want to see who can answer this without even searching. I mean, yeah, great.
So,
having that kind of knowledge.
let me tell before we get to the answer. Let me tell everyone give you a quick breakdown of this famous first sale. The founder, Pierre Omidyar, wrote the code for the site over Labor Day weekend in 1995 to see if he could create a marketplace for direct person-to-person auctions. The item to test the site, he listed a broken laser pointer that he was going to throw away anyway. He was careful to clearly list it as broken. The sale, much to his surprise and probably delight, is it sold for $14.83. And that's in 1995, so that's like $1 million today. And so the buyer, when Omidyar emailed the winning bidder to ensure they understood the laser pointer didn't work, the buyer reporter replied, "I'm a collector of broken laser pointers." This confirmed to Ahmadiyar that almost anything could find a market on the internet, launching what eventually became the e-commerce giant we know today. This old tech company, originally launched as Auction Web, is, as Becky in the chat room has said, eBay. So good job, Becky, and no, it was not NASA. NASA did not sell a broken laser pointer, LinkedIn user, whoever you may be. So no, that's great. That's great. So now I want to take a moment to go around and do and go around. And, we've got this has been an amazing roundtable, and so I know all of you have some really awesome, just general product management advice for the people watching, and hopefully we'll find other ways of sharing out your great advice and later as well. And so I want to just kind of go around and get just a quick tidbit of advice, just some short advice around the room from each of you. And so I'm going to start with Ite. If you could go first, we'll start there.
Well, I would say that sometimes conflict between stakeholders it could be more of a design challenge, and co-creation can align perspective early and prevent rework, and after that lead to a smarter and more scalable solution than anyone's initial idea. So I would say resolve product conflict through co-creation, which it doesn't mean you're solving these through compromise.
Great. Dilshad, your advice.
My advice is for the PMs moving from junior to senior roles, or for people who are facing a lot of ambiguity in their job. So early in my career, I believed being a product manager means I should always know the answer. And that's probably because I grew up in environments culturally and also professionally where going and admitting I don't know felt like more sort of a weakness. You fear that not knowing an instant answer might kind of expose you. I don't know how many people actually relate to this, but we are employed in a role based with your skill set, and you expect to know things as a subject matter expert. Going out and saying I don't know was not very comfortable, at least when I had joined or started my career as a product manager. And the irony is, it's often we don't feel safe to say this to your manager as well. If you have a great manager where you can go and discuss these kind of struggles or insecurities you have in your job, that's great. But if you don't have, then I would say this is where mentoring plays a big role. I don't want to divert, but very quickly I want to say, people, please try mentoring or get mentored. That's super useful. So at that point of time, whoever my mentor was suggested, saying that, Dilshad, product management doesn't come with a manual. Ambiguity isn't exception, it is part of the job. This was more like a revelation for me, kind of eye opener. Suddenly I accepted the truth. I felt much easier listening that from someone saying that this is part of the job. So the point is, the expectation is not that you always have to know the answer. It's how you create a path forward. So when you shift this, your thinking from I don't know to let's find out, then everything around changes you. And I think that's what is super important. If you're someone who is struggling with this kind of um, how insecurities in opening up, I would say being honest and open and being transparent actually brings teams together. I have personally witnessed that, because you show leadership not saying that I know everything, but by showing them, demonstrating how you can navigate through situations and uncertainties with calmness and clarity. So my final message is, great PMs don't eliminate ambiguity, they learn to navigate it. So yeah, for whoever in the audience is having this kind of journey, please consider this is normal. You just have to learn and master this skill as part of your product management career.
Excellent. That's great. That's great. Shaheen.
All right. Yeah, when I to use one of Greg's lines here, back when I was a Scrum Master, yeah, I used to give this talk, and this is about creating powerful teams, powerful team culture. And I used to give this talk about autonomy, and a lot of this theory came from Daniel Pink, and then aligned with what I had in grad school. But Daniel was talking about how if you are granting people more autonomy of their work, then they'll feel more ownership over their work. And what happens is that you can reach, there are some people that perform at a very high level all the time, and there are other people that kind of like slack off a little bit. But if you give these people autonomy and ownership over the work, you will move them into this high performer category. So that's been kind of like the foundation of how, I helped Scrum Master and helped build these teams. And you would see that in the velocity of the team, right? And the throughput and how much work you were doing and the vibe and the culture and the buy-in. And then now in product roles, it's still, I still engage with the team in the same way, trying to provide as much autonomy as possible. But the impact is, and my perspective is different, because I'm not so much concerned with velocity as I used to be. But now the positive impact I'm seeing is on creativity. So it's like, okay, you guys know more about this than I do. So what do you think? How should we do it? And then having people like come up with these different ideas on like how to problem solve and I think so that's been like a big revelation of this last year, is like, oh wow, that there's like other added benefits there. And but so then you have to balance that as a product manager, or a product owner, because you're supposed to be defining what's the next thing that we work on and how do we do that and what. So the challenge becomes like, how can we kind of keep people in bounds a little bit, or nudge them on track while giving them enough autonomy to do what they think is right. And a couple, one example of this, my daughter, she's 4, and she's got like there's like a little car. It's like a board with a plastic, and there's like these little cars on there, and there's a magnet wand that you stick on the cars and you can move them into parking spots. And I'm like, showing her, this is how you do it. And she's like, all right, cool. 10 minutes, she's playing with this thing. She's like, Dad, you know that if you use it on the back, it still moves the cars. And I'm like, what? Well, that is, yeah. And then it looks like the cars are just driving around. Like, I didn't provide that, direction to her, because I'm not playing with that thing long enough. I don't have as much context with that as she does, right? She's in there. So like, that's like kind of some of the benefit that you can expect to see there. And so, who else? I have a couple more points on this topic. One is it's a Jordan Peterson quote that I saw yesterday. And he said, what if we're moving from like, and this is paraphrased, what if we're moving from control to distributed competence? And I was like, yeah, that kind of sums up like what we're after, right? Like, we're trying to like just distribute out the competence as best as we can and empower the people as best as we can, rather than, controlling what they do. And then last story, the Valve in grad school in our capstone, like one thing we needed to do was read Valve's employee handbook. So Valve is a game company, and basically it says that when you arrive there, you get a desk that's on wheels, and Valve is, at least at the time, and I think they still are known for not having any managers at all. So good luck getting a product manager job there. There's just no managers at Valve. It's just engineering, and maybe there's some design, but that's it, right? You get a rolly desk, and then you can roll your desk to the different areas in the studio, wherever you want to go, that has the project that you want to work on. That's it. You just get in and go. Like, and their their competitive advantage is nothing technical. Their competitive advantage is hiring. That's it. That's what they're known for. Hiring. They hire the right people. And then it's been really cool. I don't know if you've been following news lately, but they've been saying that Valve is like one of the most, if not the most, revenue per employee of all of the tech companies out there, right? They're like way up there, if not number one. So they said they're doing about $50 million in revenue per employee. They've got this year in 25. So it's like really cool to see that, 10, 12 years down the line, and like the impact that they've had with, ultimate autonomy really is what it is.
Awesome. Those are some great stories. Example, the Valve one is I'm familiar with that as well. Greg, you're up.
So my advice is for mid to senior product leaders who are trying to figure out where they fit in the AI native world. And my advice is stop writing user stories and start curating context. So let me explain what I mean by that. For the last 15 years, we've taught project managers and product owners that their value is in the artifact. Let's say a perfectly written Jira ticket, detailed acceptance criteria, well-groomed backlog. And that era, in my opinion, is officially over. If you're spending your day typing, as a user, I want blah, 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 you're doing work that a model can now do better and much, much faster. So my advice is to aggressively shift from your role from author to editor. Your value is no longer in generating the requirements. It is in curating the context that you feed the model so that it can generate the requirements. Just do an experiment. I want you to audit your week. Any hour you spend manually drafting a document that a prompt could have drafted is an hour you stole from talking to a customer. And by customer, I mean end user stakeholder. I believe the best product managers in 2026 won't be the best writers. They will be the best architects of context.
Excellent. Yeah, I've long the trend, the pattern I see is, I think, follows that vein. It's more about, I think, product management is moving more towards, I think, the role of a coach and kind of someone who gets the best out of everyone and brings it together versus necessarily being the source of that really cool idea. You might have that North Star, but then it's about how do you bring all the right pieces together from all the right places. I think that's great. Varun gave me his advice. He knew he was going to have to leave a little early, so he gave me his advice ahead of time. So allow me to play it for everyone now.
And my PM advice to you is focus on understanding the real customer problems deeply and not just delivering features. Communicate with clarity and build strong cross-functional relationships and learn how your product drives the business. Stay curious always. Use data without becoming a slave of it. Avoid analysis paralysis and always bias toward action by shipping, learning, and iterating quickly. Develop a strong perspective, a strong point of view. Own the outcomes rather than the tasks. And remember that sustainable impact comes from managing your energy as well as your time. It
was great stuff from Varun as well. So I want to, as we now wrap up, I just want to go around. Have any final comments from the roundtable? So any comments that you want to make as we wrap up? Also, when we go around, let everyone know how people can reach out to you, how they can find you online. And I'll just go in the order of the product manager totem pole I've got to my right here. And so I'm going to start with Greg.
Thank you for being here. Thank you to the audience. You guys make it possible for us to be here and to talk to each other. Thank you to my co-host. I really had a great time here, or co-panelists, I should say. And Jeremy, thank you as well. I've been wanting to be on this podcast for a very, very long time, and it's finally happened. So
Awesome.
I really enjoyed it. And if anybody wants to find me, look me up on LinkedIn. You could see my name on the screen, and drop me a note. I'm always happy to answer questions or talk to you. And if you're organizing events, you can invite me. I'm happy to speak to your audience.
Awesome. Itay?
So, yeah, I would like also to thank everybody for attending, for hearing us. Thank you, Jeremy, for giving the opportunity to talk in front of such very insightful managers and experienced people. And that's it. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, my name is on the screen. I'm also looking for my next role as I relocated to the Netherlands. So if someone here is from the Netherlands, I'll be happy to hear about any opportunities that you have. That's it.
Yeah, Ite is a superstar. You got to reach out to him right now. His LinkedIn, along with everyone else's, is in the video description. So if you're on YouTube, check out the video description. It should be there on LinkedIn as well. So definitely reach out. Dilshad.
So thanks everyone for staying tuned for an almost 2.5 hours conversation. I hope this is very insightful. And like everyone said, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if anyone wants to have any mentoring or any questions to ask, or if they are looking for some roles where I could, refer or do something for you guys. Please don't hesitate. You can connect me or connect on my LinkedIn profile. Once again, thank you so much for staying tuned.
Shaheen.
Jeremy, thank you for organizing. This was really cool, and your kind of like structure leading up to it was very helpful. So very nice rubbing elbows with you and Greg, Ite, Dilshad, and what was his name? Shoot, I was looking at the names here. Great hanging with you guys and getting to know you. Yeah, it's been awesome. And it's always really good to just connect with like-minded people and know that, and get some confirmation that your ideas are still relevant, kind of knock off some of that imposter syndrome, brush it off. We all get it sometimes. And yeah. Oh, I'm looking for my next opportunity or exploring other opportunities in the Nashville or Austin areas or remote, whatever. I'd love to help. So yeah, reach out. I'm Shaheen Murray. You can find me on LinkedIn. And otherwise, thank you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, definitely reach out to Shaheen as well. His LinkedIn is there in the description for the video too. Awesome. This is you. I really want to. We've had, and this is such kind of like a great high note special event that we did here today. I really want to thank everyone tuning in off camera. Your engagement, questions, comments have been just truly amazing. Just your perspectives. It's really what makes TPG Live unique, and truly appreciate that. I wanted to continue with and also really a high note roundtable. I can't imagine a better way to kind of wrap up the year. Ite Srivi, Dilshad Sheikh, Shaheen Murray, Varun Kalyan, Greg Spector, all of you. Awesome. I can't imagine a better way. Rethinking product, anti-pattern, strategy shifts, smarter habits. We covered it all. Everything from E-Take telling us to kill the stand-ups, Dilshad telling us to kill the humans, something like that. Stop building for humans. Forget about them. I might be paraphrasing there. Killing roadmaps. Wow, a lot of killing. Wow, really. What a note. Launching doesn't equal success. Another really great piece of advice from Dilshad. Don't compete with your coworkers. Inspiration journals. Keeping an open mind. Don't give dates for deliverables. I dare you. Creating an impediments backlog. Just an amazing set of advice and perspectives from the Roundtable. That what a great way to wrap up the year, and a lot of food for thought as we go into next year. So if you would like to join us on the Roundtable, we'd love to have you join the on-screen Roundtable. Every person, every type of background, experience, everyone's welcome. Just reach out to me at jhorn@theproductguy.com. And happy to talk to you and explore having you join the table. We also, there's plenty of more topics for us to cover. We'd love to know what topics you'd like for us to cover. So please, in the comments down below, share what you'd like to see discussed in a future episode of TPG Live. I do have a favor to ask of everyone who's watching right now, especially if you're still watching, because our extra long episode today. Subscribe, enable notifications, share it with your friends. Tell 5 of your friends about it. Tell them to like and subscribe. Help boost us, help get us spread the word about what TPG Live is, what makes us so special, what makes us unique. We've got a lot of great content that comes out for TPG Live and other great content on the Product Way YouTube channel. It would really help spreading the word. And just my final closing, just again, a great thank you again to both our on-camera and off-camera portions of our roundtable. Your wisdom, the great conversation. And I just want to say, see you all next time on TPG Live. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Today's show is just the beginning. Inside the Product Way on Patreon, members go further with expanded TPG Live recaps that turn ideas into concrete actions, guided frameworks, practical insights for everyone from PM to CPO, and access to tools trusted by top product teams worldwide. New content drops every week, including case studies, practical product strategies, key insights, and deep dive articles. That includes our exclusive Roadmap to Mastery series featuring the Product Plus AI collection with real-world strategies to help you lead and deliver in the age of AI. Each week, members are opening doors to new roles and delivering bigger wins. Join them at patreon.com/theproductway or use the QR code on your screen to become a member right now. Enjoy, and thank you very much for your support.